In today's episode of the Pathway Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Regina Nogueira, and she's heading over as the marketing and community lead at Mintbase. And Mintbase is actually sort of a small summary would be, it's kind of like the Shopify of the new virtual economy. You guys have been listening and reading a lot about NFTs recently. We had some interesting guests in that industry on the show. So today we are diving deeper into that industry and see how can create and sell NFTs as art, tickets, music, and much more. So, Regina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Very happy to be here.
Sure. So, give us a 360 overview. What is Mintbase all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you very correctly said, Mintbase is a toolkit that allows people to create NFTs without worrying about all the technical complexity. So it's very easy to go onto Mintbase and deploy a smart contract. I can go into that a bit later and start minting your NFTs. So basically creating NFTs. I know you've been already looking into what's an NFT, but just briefly, so NFT stands for non-fungible token. So an NFT is a unique asset that's stored on the blockchain. Mintbase in particular is built on EAR. That is cheap and climate-friendly blockchain. So that's something that for us is very important to mention, because our vision for NFTs goes a little bit beyond the art hype that we see that has been growing a lot, and more into utility NFTs. So we believe that there are endless possibilities for NFTs can be used, such as ticketing, membership, and even attaching NFTs to physical items. So say you go buy a new pair of shoes, you get the NFT representation, and then you can redeem that for the physical item. So Mintbase, I guess, easiest way to describe it, we used to call ourselves the Shopify of NFTs until this project found our tools and started building an actual Shopify for NFTs. So they just go on Mintbase, use our smart contracts, and then you can apply your own templates to it. So that's all built on top of us. So now we're considering ourselves the Shopify of Shopifys, meaning you can build anything on top of our tools. Your own marketplaces, dApps, anything you can think of. So besides our user-facing marketplace where artists and creators can come and create their NFTs, we also have a software development kit that developers and businesses can use to, for example, get our marketplace and our smart contracts on their website, not having to interact with our user interface. Or as I was saying, using these smart contracts to build pretty much anything you can think of. I think besides this Shopify example, one example I always like to mention is you could actually build an Uber dApp, so a decentralized Uber, for example, where through tokenization and NFTs and our split revenue and royalties model, people could or the drivers could own their rides, decide who gets paid, have voting mechanisms with these NFTs. So the possibilities really are endless. So yeah, in a nutshell, I know I overhanded a little bit. That's what we are.
Very cool. No, that gives a good insight. Maybe we touched lightly on it, but who is, now that you've sort of developed into what Mintbase is today, like who would be the main user base? Like who are the people? Maybe tell us about sort of the companies that are coming from, or is it individual developers? Maybe tell us a little bit more about who's benefiting most from Mintbase at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So on one side, builders, developers, creators that want to engineer their business models. So that can be like this example of the Shopify that I mentioned. So someone who is trying to develop a business on top of the blockchain. We also have a project that is developing their own ticketing system. Now we have this really cool tour company from Barcelona. They do augmented reality tours, and use NFTs in this tour. So they've incorporated Mintbase's smart contract on their website. So we have that on one side. And then on the other side, the first community that actually started using Mintbase, NFT artists and collectors. So I guess for the first group, the business focused people, it's easy to see what's the upside of blockchain and near. So fees are minimal And I think that's something we can get into as well. So typically NFTs come from the Ethereum blockchain, and due to the way that Ethereum was built and the fact that it is a proof of work blockchain, the gas fees, so what you pay to sort of complete those transactions that you need moving tokens around, are very expensive, which is one of the reasons why NFTs have been so art focused, because who can afford minting 1,000 tickets if you have to pay $100 per ticket? So that's why we decided to build on Near as well. So for that utility element, rather than paying $100 to mint a token, you will pay 0.0000000 cent of a dollar. It's a massive difference. So we have that first group of people who want to utilize NFTs for practical day-to-day use cases. And then we still have the artists. Features like split royalties that we have allow artists to be paid forever on chain for the work that they do. So say you are a graphic designer and you sell a logo as an NFT. After that, I can sell it to someone else. You will forever be paid for it. Or an example that's maybe closer to real world, you design a garment for a computer game, and after, if I, the customer, the player, no longer want to play this game, I want to sell this garment to someone else, the designer, the initial artist will always get paid for it, and there is no middleman doing this. So it all happens through code automatically on chain and forever. It's amazing.
Very cool. So now that you're in marketing and community, obviously what I'm curious about is in that sort of new industry in a sense, like how, what is the roles, the channels, the views that a growth marketer takes? What is channels that you're excited about? What have you been seen working in the industry? And, what is also something that you may be looking towards the future in terms of channels for growing Mintbase?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the main channels in the blockchain Web3 space will be Twitter. So crypto Twitter is a famous space. Now, Twitter, definitely the main one for us. And then other channels that are maybe not so widely used by marketeers in traditional businesses, such as Discords, Reddit, and Telegram. So those are very important channels for our community at the moment. I guess in blockchain and Web3, community matters most. So more than doing actual marketing, what we want is to build this community, to have people exchange ideas and build this future that we're hoping to build together with us, because it's also new. We don't have all the answers, and our community, the people that are utilizing the technology, are the people that can actually bring it to us. This said, as the NFT space grows, we're now starting to look into other platforms such as Instagram, which is not a very traditional channel for blockchain, and LinkedIn as well. But yeah, so basically what I think is most important is understanding that in the Web3 space, community is at heart. So we need to nurture this community of advocates and supporters that can build on us and help us develop our technology and our business further.
Is there something that you've learned in regards to sort of community building that was maybe a bit surprising for you? Maybe one key insight that you've taken away, when you were building the community, or what is crucial to have because obviously a lot of NFT projects have communities, some foster, some die down. Mm-hmm. What have you learned from your side?
So I think from the thing I learned the most, and I'm new to this space, I come from a Web2 company, it's a normal tech company, and this is completely new for me. But I think growth in a community perspective is not necessarily about metrics or numbers. It's not about scale. So it's not about getting more people to join your Telegram group. It's more about the value of the relationships that we create. So quality over quantity. We want to have good conversations that are actually generating stuff. Want to have a community of builders, people that will add value. So these relationships are really key. And I think for me, that's the main thing that's different from my previous experience, is we're not focusing on vanity metrics, but actually looking what's being built, what's being developed, and what projects actually have the strength and the vision to develop further, so that we build on top of each other. Because ultimately, and especially in this space where things are developing so quickly and so many new projects are appearing and coming in, what will make you last is to have a community of people that will use your technology, because there will be so many options out there, right? So having this group of people that are true advocates for your brand.
Very cool. There is one thing though that I'm interested about, because you mentioned you come from a web 2.0 background. Obviously, in those cases, very often the website plays a key role. Like, how do you think about the website now in the new space, Web3? Like for Web3 company, how do you think about the website? What role does it play for your growth?
So I think in our case, the website is the main reason. So actually, this is an interesting question, because we have been struggling with our UI and our website, that it's not where we would like it to be, but we know that the backend technology is very strong. So that's going to be our main focus. And what's interesting to see is, even if the technology isn't so easy to use, isn't so intuitive, it's great to see that people are still really invested in using it and building that with us. So giving feedback, etc. But for sure, I mean, technology and our website is the main thing that we're selling. But it's interesting to see how people are willing to use a less than perfect technology and not have the same seamless experience as we used to have on Web2, because it's all new, connect wallet, do this, do that. Sometimes the transaction fails, you don't have enough near on your wallet to pay for the gas fee. And it's been really, really great to see how rallied people are to still experiment.
Interesting. I want to switch gears a little bit. So we talked about sort of what Mintbase is all about. We talked a little bit how you're thinking about growth, the role of community, also sort of for the role of the website still plays a key. I would like to learn a little bit more about yourself, the journey as a marketer, right? Because now you're in that very new sort of and fast moving industry. Like, what's the places where you like to read, and how do you filter information? What's your go-to resource to keep on educating yourself in the fast moving space?
For sure. I think Twitter is a great place to look for information. There are a few newsletters and podcasts that I follow as well, but definitely Twitter is a place to go, because it is all about this community. So finding things that you can relate to and then expanding from there. So for example, on Twitter, I found this amazing community, and then they're on Discord and Telegram as well, that is Women in NFTs, exchanging lots of information and valuable resources to educate each other. And there are a lot of interesting newsletters. I obviously read all the crypto sort of websites, such as Coinbase, Cointelegraph. But yeah, mostly community. So listening to what people are saying on Twitter and signing up to a few newsletters. I can definitely share some of the suggestions, but there is so much out there that I'm not sure mine will be the better suggestions possible.
Very good. Now that gives us an insight. To wrap it up, I have some rapid fire questions to get to know you and your journey a little bit better. Are you ready for those?
For sure. Yes. Let's do it.
What is the last book you read or the last podcast you listened to?
Yeah. So last book I read, I'm almost finishing. It's Homo Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. I'm sure it's a very common answer. I have been waiting to read it for years, and now I have. And this is also a cliche to say, but it's really opened my eyes to a lot of interesting things, and really makes you put things into perspective, right, in terms of human experience.
What's one single thing your company is focused on the most at the moment?
So I think experimenting and doing crazy things, trying to understand what we can achieve. Last week, just for an example, we did this party here in Lisbon, which is where we're based, and everything was tokenized. So you could exchange NFTs for cocktails, tickets. We had a live on-chain auction. So experimenting, and showing people that this technology is usable.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, what's the one thing you would fix for your role today?
Interesting question. I guess for me, maybe there is a tool out there, and I think people in community marketing and even customer experience must feel this. There is so many platforms and channels that you need to keep an eye on. I would love to have a tool that aggregates it all in one, and I know there are out there, but that just makes it easy and seamless from marketing to customer experience to community. That would be a dream.
Is this to what, to like read metrics, or what would be sort of the, what would this tool give you?
Metrics as well, but just this one-stop shop for everything that I need to do, not having to have 1,000 channels and 1,000 tabs and windows open.
What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
Sometimes what we were talking about as well, figuring out who we're marketing to. That's one of our biggest challenges, because we have our possible audience, it's so vast that it's hard to sometimes figure out how to frame what we're saying, because it's different to talk to a developer than to talk to an artist, right? So I think that's one of the biggest challenges we have, and what's been keeping me up at night too.
Very cool. And the last question would be, what would be the one advice that you would give yourself when moving from Web.2 to Web.3 as a marketer? Like, what's one thing you would tell everybody who's doing that move that they should definitely do when they start a new role?
Yeah, I think don't be afraid to sound like a noob. That was what I was most afraid of, and I think still am, but ask all the questions. It's easy to feel like you should know everything, and it can be overwhelming to not know anything at all. So I think ask all the questions, ask. Don't be afraid to look silly. We're all new to this.
Very cool. And I'm going to give you the very last word on the show, Regina. If everybody would be, or the people are listening, who would be forgetting what we just discussed about Mintbase, what's the one thing that they should remember?
I think that utility NFTs are the future. Art was a really good way to battle test the technology, but we can do so much more. So ticketing, membership NFTs, redeeming NFTs for physical items, that's the change that we're trying to drive.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Platform Presents.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.